When it comes to tyranny, you have to draw a firm line in the sand and say, here are my values, here's what's right, and I will not back off even an inch. Because if you're not careful, what happens is tyrants will take our values and they push them back just a little bit, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, until we're so boxed in, we don't actually have we don't have footing sufficient enough to actually launch a defense. It becomes too late. All right, what's happening, folks? I am John Lovell, Warrior Poet Society. We've got an important subject today. We're talking about how America is just careening toward authoritarianism, tyranny. It's been bad before. Other nations have experienced it before. We've had it in microcosms as well, but it seems to be heating up and getting worse and worse and worse. And what I wanted to arrive at today is something that you and I can do that would absolutely make a huge difference. It may be the only way to actually stave off the death of the Republic. And I don't think I'm being over sensationalist. I think it'll just literally come down to this one thing that we've got to do, and it's actually attainable. It's something you leave today with an action point. You're like, yeah, I need to do that. And so that's what I wanted to arrive at, but I wanted to build up and make a case for it. Before we jumped in, though, I don't have a big video sponsor. I just ask you guys if you wouldn't mind supporting our society. Would really appreciate it. We have a full commerce store that's just goodie land for dudes. It's belts and knives and gun holsters, war belts, body armor, packs, apparel. I don't know if I said apparel already. All the things. It's really cool stuff. So make sure you check it out. Really helps us out a lot and helps fund the whole movement. All right, guys, jumping back in. I was thinking about heroes that still speak to me. I've been shaped by heroes. I was thinking about Corrie ten Boom and Anne Frank, who were both instrumental in hiding Jews from Nazis that were seeking to kill them. Big deal. I was thinking about Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a German pastor turned spy against the Third Reich. I was thinking about the tens of thousands and possibly hundreds of thousands of Christians that the Roman Empire was butchering, trying to get them to denounce Jesus in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th centuries AD. I was also thinking about the Tiananmen Square massacre, specifically the Tank Man. There's this real iconic picture where there's these Chinese tanks rolling through Tiananmen Square in Beijing, and as they're rolling through, this just lone man walks up and he keeps shuffling to get in front of the tanks. It's basically like, I'm protesting, run over me if you must. And so there's this showdown where they, you basically stop the tanks for a short while until the Chinese Communist Party did what they do best, and that's, made him disappear forever. We have no idea who he is or his legacy, but he still speaks. There's that iconic photograph. It's a huge representation to us today. Also, I was thinking about Rosa Parks, and I think she was the first one I was thinking about this morning in preparation for this video, in that there were 4 black folks that were in the front of the bus, and they were being forced toward the back of the bus. 3 of these people got up, but Rosa Parks was tired of being bullied and pushed around by injustice and authoritarianism. She knew it wasn't right, and she was done moving. She wanted to resist. She had apparently, like all the heroes before her that I just listed off, she had drawn her line in the sand and she said, I'm not moving. But something that's such a small act of defiance, she's extremely famous. Everybody knows Rosa Parks, She died at 92 years old, and so she ended up faring better. She ended up getting national recognition. She's a hero. She's an American sister to us all, and we love what she did and the contribution that she made to make a more free America. But it came at a great personal cost to her and the other people before her. When it comes to tyranny, you have to draw a firm line in the sand and say, here are my values, here's what's right, and I will not back off even an inch. Because if you're not careful, what happens is tyrants will take our values and they push them back just a little bit, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, until we're so boxed in, we don't actually have we don't have footing sufficient enough to actually launch a defense. It becomes too late. So the Tank Man in Tiananmen Square, for instance, well, communism had already dominated all of China. All the institutions of power had been gathered up by this fascism. And though he had an amazingly heroic stand, it was to no avail because it was too late. He drew a line, but it was too late. We needed more people and much earlier on. This was back in like 1989. Rosa Parks, on the other hand, she was able to help mobilize and change America. And there was a lot of other folks in the civil rights movement particularly, but all throughout, not even just civil rights, all throughout the American history to change America for better. Now, obviously, it's been changing for worse and better at different times, but now, obviously, sometimes we're changing for better in some ways, and sometimes we're changing from worse. But I'm just saying, seemingly small acts of sacrifice and courage can have massive, massive results. So I want to flesh out more of what I just said. But before I do, I want to show you exactly what we're up against. There's an insidious and pernicious cancer called leftism. It's not being a Democrat, and it's not being a liberal. I define leftism as anti-everythingism. It's deconstructionism. It's postmodernism on steroids. It wants to abolish all tradition. They're anti-God, they're anti-family, they're anti-masculinity, anti. Everything that I hold dear, everything that I value and believe in, they're at the absolute opposite, and they're calling us evil. And I'm like, guess what? I think you're evil. And they think I'm evil. And so it is this massive, just completely different antithetical value system that's ripping the country apart. And furthermore, that leftism gives no quarter to dissenting ideas. If they can cancel you and ruin your life, they'll absolutely do that. Whereas before, Democrats and Republicans could argue and agree to disagree, both wanting good for the country, agreeing that America's a good thing. But leftism doesn't even do that. It's anti-everythingism. It wants the destruction of everything. Anyway, that's my definition of leftism, anti-everythingism. And what I see is this leftism has invaded all of our main institutions of power, gobbled them up. And the consequences is where we should have taken our values and put a line here, we've been asleep at the wheel, enjoying our freedoms. Now I look around and I'm like, all right, the school system, academia, the media, the presidency, the Senate, big tech, any one of these should just freak you out, of like big tech, censoring voices, Hollywood, all this stuff adding together. It's these major institutions of power that's peddling out this woke leftism. It's anti-everything that we stood for before. And so it looks like we're in an institutional checkmate. It just feels like we're screwed as the entire value system that has meant everything to our parents, it means a great deal to me, is under attack. It's like we're destroying the foundations of the country and expecting it still to hand. If you demo the foundations of a structure, there's no possibility that that structure can still stand. And so this is really, really bad. I'm encouraged by those heroic stories I told before. Though all that looks really grim, I do think we have an ace card up our sleeves if we just have the balls to play it, and it's this: mass non-compliance. Don't comply to being locked down. Don't comply to the government forcing things upon you that you don't believe in. Don't comply with bullying. Just like the spirit of those heroes before that stood in front of a bunch of bullies that would gobble up freedom, say no more. Refuse to allow the government to indoctrinate our kids. Refuse to keep allowing woke corporations and big tech to be able to gobble up your freedom and access to information. We also need to use our dollars to vote against major corporations that are playing woke games, and also big tech as well that's playing censorship games as well. We need to look for alternative platforms and also alternative places where we can vote with our dollars for the companies that have our values and against the other ones. Some people have made really stupid distinctions saying, hey, you're guilty of the same thing when you vote against companies with your dollars. I'm like, no. Authoritarianism cancels a platform. There's no democratic process to that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying cancel anyone. I'm just saying use your dollars elsewhere. Now, this comes at some personal cost. That means you may not get all the entertaining shows that you like. You may not be able to shop at all the places that you like. Your life will be changed, small part, moderately, or in a major way, because what we're wanting to do is preserve our freedoms, preserve our country, preserve our values, but at no personal cost to us. And it's so not realistic. There's no possible way we can maintain forward status quo in the future. Those days are long gone, and the sooner that we swallow that, the better. It's going to cost you something. And the question is are you going to draw a line now, which is going to cost you something? It may cost your job. It may cost you some of your relationships. It may cost you some of your money. It may cost you some of your convenience. But our predecessors, the heroes, it would cost them rape, or being beaten or lynched or killed or imprisoned. We're not facing that. We can afford to suffer some for what we believe in. But if we don't draw a line right here, which is going to hurt, we'll have to draw a line later when our values are stressed more to their breaking point, but it'll cost more. Each time that we don't stand up to tyranny and control and we lose more of our freedoms, the cost will get harder and harder and harder as it backs up more and more and more. You have to draw a line in the sand in accordance with your values early and refuse to compromise. Guys, our only real shot at this, and we are way deep into an end game right now if we're to preserve the country. We could bring change like Rosa Parks did, or we're just becoming martyrs like some of the Christians in the Roman Empire. Actually, that ended up winning out as the Roman Empire would convert to Christianity by the blood of the martyrs and power of Jesus. However, in the Tiananmen Square massacre of 1989, those folks were just killed. And you see China is just absolutely lost to authoritarianism. It could go either way for us, but the only real path forward is massive noncompliance. Notice I'm not calling for any type of violence. I really want peaceful noncompliance. My thing is, folks will say, hey, when is it time to start shooting people? I'm like, well, if they shoot first, you can shoot back. Legally, morally justify that, make sure you're all good to go. But I'm just saying, I have no intentions of using any type of violence. I'm war of ideas still, but not massive non-compliance is the way that we should be rolling right now. Some of you will disagree. That's fine. You can call for violence. However, a lot of people that would call for that haven't seen war up close and personal. It is not something that you want to do. We had that experiment back in 1861 to 1865 with the Civil War. And no one wants a repeat of that. We don't want anything bloody. We just want our country back. And massive non-compliance is a way to do it. It can absolutely change the world. You know Gandhi and you know Martin Luther King Jr. And whether things ended up very well for them personally, their legacy and movement lived on, and it actually did bring effective change. Massive non-compliance. That means you got to get loud. Stop being quiet and polite and letting everyone else trample over you. Now is the time to grow a spine and a backbone and speak out before it's too late. I'm so on the offense now. I'm out in public and I'm still being a nice person, generally speaking, but I want to tell the truth. And I'm kind of looking for these conversations. I'm trying to find folks that want to shame me about not wearing a mask or getting a vaccine. And the point isn't whether you agree with that stuff or not. It's just, this is a point of freedom and you can't force me to do anything, you tyrants. And so that's what I'm getting at. Make your own decisions, but I'm a free man and I'm going to die that way, right? I remember not too long ago, whether it was Republican or Democrat alike, they may disagree, but both could agree at least that they would die for your right to disagree. And that was the whole great American experiment, right? Is the freest nation in the history of man. First, Second Amendment, holding, the First Amendment, holding supreme, and the Second Amendment, right to bear arms, was the only guarantee that you can actually keep your freedoms as tyranny naturally seeks to overthrow. It naturally seeks for that control. And we've gotten to a point of critical mass. And I'm going in circles here, so I'm going to end this video now. But guys, we all have some gut checking to do. I need to look at some areas and take it up a notch as well in what I do with my words and how I battle with other folks and ideas. I'm just so sick of being bullied. And so that's how I'm rolling. Get loud, guys, and don't comply. Don't. Guys, I'm going to wrap this video up as I'm just more and more becoming that curmudgeon. Just ranting at a camera. Appreciate you guys. Please like this video, comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts, I really do. Also share the video. Big tech's not helping us grow. Visit our website. That stuff helps us out a lot. And please consider checking out our app. We have a streaming service. It's watchwpsn.com. Really appreciate your support in any of those ways. And if not, no biggie. But stay free, guys. Really appreciate you. Much love. And see you next time.
Welcome to Unbreakable Mind. Contestants have been selected to be pushed physically, mentally, and emotionally to their last possible limit. Meet Kendra, a security consultant from Miami.
I'm an owner of a nonprofit dedicated to anti-sex trafficking, and I'm a survivor.
Meet Mario, a police officer from Detroit.
The discipline that he has is something that I aim to take away from this whole thing.
Karina, a human resources representative from Ohio.
I want to get to a point where I no longer think in my mind, what if I can't? I want to get to the point where I just know that I can.
Meet David, a school teacher from Miami.
I am a proud product of the inner city of Miami-Dade County, Florida, and no stranger to what it means for trauma to ambush you.
Meet Jessica, a physician's assistant from Pennsylvania.
I'm not going to let the people who've hurt me continue to hurt me. I am certain I will be facing these things this week. But that's okay. I'm like, bring it.